some leftist based in Canada, I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
check. Check 2, hello. Hello, are you there? Hello? Hello? How's it going? Oh, and happy birthday, Dane. Can we please get a happy birthday, please? Please. Come on. Is the sound cutting? Oh, good. Good. I like that. I've not seen one happy birthday, Lodane. I haven't changed anything about the gate. Lodane, I think this is the big 2-7. Unbelievable. Our young ladies growing up before our very eyes. The big 2-7 for Lodane. Wow. Fantastic. Sorry, I don't want to drudge up any unpleasant memories with. Okay? That was not my intention. Just think she looks good, folks. Oh, what can I say? What can I say? I'm gonna lie? No, thank you. Dragon Age Origins was never played that one. Libs are comparing Biden and Trump to Yoda and the evil emperor. Oh, good. So listen, the mic hiss should be gone, right? I tested it earlier. I'm having some weird there's some weird issues with this computer. I think, not to get too into the technicality, I believe it has something to do with the power supply. I think I need a new power supply that it's like there's not enough power going to the USB outlets or the internet thing. Like the internet, all that input. I think that's what it is. Because it's really bizarre. I don't want to get too into the technicalities here, but I have this little like, it's like a USB audio input. When I was having that mic issue before, I plugged it into a different USB port in my PC, and it started working. It was working properly, and then it started having the same issue. And today, I like unplugged all this shit, and I was testing the mic on different USB ports. I tried a bunch of different ones, and then I plugged it into the back. I swear in the same one it was plugged into before, and then it works. It makes no sense whatsoever. Computer motherboards have limited power output to USB. You can power it from a separate outlet. So a powered USB outlet. That might be something to look into. I wish I could, like Pac-Man Trinity, I'm literally like I'm technically an expert in like audio production, you know? I have decades of experience in audio production in the music industry. I've been podcasting for 5 years, going on 6 years here, podcasting and streaming. Hours and hundreds of hours of experience in dealing with audio, and I just don't understand how any of it works. I don't understand how any of it works. Oh, I tried to reboot, baby. Oh, yeah. Believe me. Believe me, I rebooted. Okay? Lighting A, set design A+, film sound C-. Is that your report card, Lodane? Makes no sense. Dealing with video production for audio is just a fucking magical force. This is what I mean. It's like sometimes it works on this computer until it just one day just stops working. It just stops working. And I swear, I plugged it into a different USB. Like, I plugged it into the same USB port on my PC that wasn't working before, and no hiss. No hiss. Is it still quiet, or is it still cutting in and out? It just seems like it's just a mystery. This shit is just a total mystery to me. So, I'm sorry that I wasn't here yesterday. My son had another day off school, and in Quebec we have these what's known as PED days, which is this, they have a little the teachers have a day off, but usually there's like activities that go on at the school. You have like extracurricular activities you can sign up for. So if you don't have childcare, they can go to like the activity or whatever. And journée pédagogique, c'est ça. So he had just had one recently. Like he had just had one like 2 weeks ago, and there's yet another journée pédagogique, which I had forgotten to sign him up for. And so he stayed with me on Sunday night, and I'd been with him for like the last week almost. And we hung out, and we got ready to go to school Monday morning, which has been rough for him lately, and he was totally okay. And I got him ready. We were right on time to school, walked to school, and I see no one's there. I was like, oh, fuck. So I didn't realize that he had another day off, so I ended up just hanging around with him, which was nice, but obviously it meant that I couldn't really accomplish all that much. We did record an episode of the last night with Sam Biddle. It's a really good one. I recommend you check that out if you have not already. It just dropped an hour or so ago. Really good episode. It was actually frustrating. Like this morning, I spent like this whole morning trying to record it. Recording a TikTok, and I had to like edit the TikTok. And when you do stitches on TikTok, you can't use the editing function. I don't know. It just makes no sense. So I had to download the video, and I was editing it using CapCut on my phone. This is just like the technical issue episode of the show today. I have to edit it on CapCut on my phone, and then it just wouldn't work because I think it was too long or something. So it just kept on lagging and hanging, and I just couldn't edit it. And I spent like an hour and a half trying to figure it out, and I was just like, well, I quit. I give up. I just wasted my whole morning trying to create content and trying and failing to create content. Um, Spent all day in the content mines with no nuggets to speak of. I made a good video too. I just need to fucking edit it. It's like they're informing the masses on TikTok. I'm Marxist pilling the masses on TikTok, and I just can't get this shit to work. My brand new phone, my brand new Pixel 7 phone, couldn't handle editing this like 4-minute long video. I swear, I deal with technical problems that just, it seems to be only me that experiences this. No matter what device, no matter what I'm doing, it's just, I'm just completely cursed sometimes. It's not a skill issue. Okay? I'm skilled, Doc. I'm skilled, right? I don't know who my favorite TikToker is. I don't know if I have a favorite. My TikTok For You page is like very eclectic. It's like, it's music, it's sports, it's like Marxism, a lot of cooking. Lately, my For You page, I don't know if anyone's ever seen these people, but they're like these people that make, it's like they make African food. And for some reason, it's just been my whole, like every fourth video has been them for like 2 or 3 days straight. And they make this like piping hot food, and they're kind of like this like interpersonal thing going on. It's kind of ASMR, and they make this big like starchy blob of things. It looks so interesting. It's like this big starchy blob of potatoes or something that they like grab with their hands, and then they dip it in. They put this like piping hot food down that looks, it's like sizzling. It's like, and they just immediately start just going like eating it like right directly from the pot or from the bowl or whatever. And I don't know what's appealing about it, but I find it very fascinating. Fufu. Okay. Mistress of Insanity Note. I love them though. They seem really cool. And they don't really talk. The guy just says Bismillah. That's like all they ever say. And they get in these little conflicts where there's like a brother guy and he's like hoarding the food. He's like muscling everyone out, and they're all having at it. I don't know if anyone's seen this content though. It really makes me want to try the food though. It looks really good. So I don't know. Is that my favorite TikToker? Probably not. I don't know if I have a favorite. Let me see if I can find it. When I load up TikTok on the web version, it almost never works as intended. The TikTok web application actually is just
You can
really
count
bad.
on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Oh my.
I've finally arrived, so to speak.
Oh my. Sean, thank you very much for 36 months. Tier 1. And for all the support, Sean. You've arrived. You've come. You've come to the stream today.
You can count on me.
I love that.
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you
36
through all
months.
this.
Almost.
Congratulations on the 36-month, 3-year Pearl sub badge, Sean. Thank you. And Moss as well. Thanks for 35 months.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based
Very
in
close.
Canada. I was
Edging
turned
right
on to
up to
this
the
sick
36
individual,
months.
and I found this.
Lucid, hello. Thanks for the raid. Lucid Raiders, get in here.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Get in here.
I'm so goddamn close.
Praxid edging right up to the 24-month badge as well. Thanks, Praxid, for the 23 months tier 1. Very close to that shimmering golden 2-year sub badge. Thanks a lot for the raid, Lucid. I really appreciate it.
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you
Welcome
through
in,
all
Raiders.
this.
It's me, Rob.
I'm here for the renewal of my friendship triangle-ness.
Quiet One, thanks for the 19 months tier 1. Hey, please hit the
You
follow
can count
button.
on me. You're going to have good old
Please smash
Rob
the follow
to
button.
talk you through all this.
If you haven't already. Costs nothing. Costs nothing at all. I'm sure many of you or most of you are probably following already, but if you're not, please hit the follow button. Not if you're already following, then don't do that.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Take care, Lucid. Edge you later. I'm looking forward to spending some time in your Goon Cave very soon, very shortly. Crackety Kraken, thanks for the gifted sub. Appreciate that, Crackety Kraken. Thank you. Thanks, Talk to Wall, as well. For 38 months. Wow. 38 months of Tier 1 Talks to Wall. Talks to Wall. It's about to goon down. Just don't share the folder during a stream. Oh, God. Oh, God. Admiral Praxis. Look at our people that have these big platforms and streamers. Like, what the fuck? You know? What the fuck? And like, listen, I don't want to get too into the interpersonal details or talk about drama with streamers. It's one thing that I like to avoid talking about, you know? You're telling me. You're telling me for the first time. I will say this though. Like, listen. Yeah, let's just talk about who we're talking about here. Vosh. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm older than Vosh, but this is a man at least in his mid-30s, right? I don't know how old Vosh is. He's in his mid-30s. Like, if you're in your mid-30s and you're online defending yourself from all kinds of accusations. Is he? I don't know. He doesn't. I guess I don't really know. He's an adult man, though, right? He's a grown adult man. Okay? And if you're sitting, he's 30 tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Here's my point. If you're an adult man and you're on your Twitch, listen, I'm an adult man and I do all kinds of weird stuff on here. Not that weird. Okay? Be clear. I'm not Mr. Maturity though, is my point. However, this is all a roundabout way of saying if you're an adult man and you're on there defending yourself from all kinds of stuff and you're like, yeah, what I thought was that this was just like a short stack goblin drawing, you see. Now, it's a mistake that anyone could make. I thought it was just one of these kind of like childlike short stack goblins. It's like, what the fuck? You know, I've like, come on.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
What are we doing here, really? Honey Sola, thank you for the gifted sub. It is a cursed string of words. Like, I would simply never utter the words short stack goblin in public. Like, what are we doing here? Why are these the people that rise to the top of this cursed industry? This is what I don't understand. No, I know it's not in that context. Again, like I'm not Captain Maturity as well. I like fantasy and video kinds of stuff. But like when that's your excuse to like deflect from all these kind of accusations of whatever, that's not good. And that is not good. Anyway, I was going to encourage more people to subscribe now, but now it's too late. The hype train's already ended. That's fine though. Who cares? Who cares about a hype train? Who cares about a hype train?
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Not me. Oh, thank you, Marina. Petty tax. Marina, thank you so much. That's for gifting us up. That's very kind of you. You're very nice to me. No, I thought it was more of one of these like short stack goblin drawings. So like just log off. Just log off. Just go. Just take a vacation. Like what are you doing? Like, just stop. Just stop. Please. How many more roundtables with Rokan are in? Exactly. These are the we must support Ukraine people. We must support the anarcho NATO Bidenists. They're not sending their best. If anyone ever tries to tell you that, like, yeah, you should support NATO, you should support Joe Biden's foreign policy initiative. These are the people that are telling you to do this. The Brandonists. Men should have to work their way out of prison when they're born, but especially if they want to be podcasters. You know what? And like, if I got caught up in that, if there was a socialist revolution, and they're like, we're just gonna like arrest all the male podcasters. Like, I don't think that would be fair to me. I think I'm one of the good ones, but also I would accept it. I'd be like, yeah. Overall, it's not about me. It's about the health of our society. Overall, yeah, for me personally, that wouldn't be great, but it's like, yeah, and I get it. Ultimately, it's going to benefit everybody, even if I do get lumped in that. I would speak on your map, you would do some time, and that's fair. That's fair. I accept that. I get it. Oh, that's good. I think that's got to be your attitude. Yeah. That old quote about wanting to be killed by the next generation for not being revolutionary. For sure, yeah. I think if you get caught up in one of those sweeps, you got to ask yourself, maybe what did you do to lead to this outcome? What could you have done better? It's called self-criticism. It's not, poor me, I'm going to the gulag for being a streamer. It's like, no, this is correct. This is good. It's good that this is happening. Our society is going to improve from this. The gulag. That's good. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Right, exactly. Self-crit, what are we, Maoists? Well, I'm not full Maoist, but sometimes you gotta take the good things that were being advocated for, and that was one of them. I've seen that one look like come on. Jesus. Yeah, sometimes that Mao guy was spitting. True. It was 6 years ago today, that's true. What did Liv say on Insurgents part about big masturbating for normal amounts of time? Exactly. Control us. Yeah, and Marina says Goli Otak was fun. They had outdoors time. Yeah, they're building roads in the tundra. Exactly. Like, for sure, if you took all the male podcasters and streamers, and like really most podcasters and streamers altogether, but especially the male ones, again, I don't think that'd be very fair for me. Overall, I would probably still be doing something more productive if you put me to work building some rail or whatever. Oh? Overall, it's a net gain. Want to be men? You go dig up rocks and fell trees. Exactly. Just go dig up a big hole and then fill it in the next day. No? That's called leading by example. And that's something I would be proud to do. I'm like kind of physically disabled, so I don't think I'd be very good at doing that kind of stuff, but I would for sure feel like I was contributing something. Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice to just feel like I was contributing something to our society. It'd be a good feeling. I like to think I'm contributing something doing the show sometimes. I'm probably doing more doing this show than I was contributing when I was like working in advertising, for example. I can't need someone to cook gruel. Exactly. I could nice gruel meals. My spine's all fucked up. My brain's also not so hot. I'd help just tidy up. Yeah, give me something to do. Seriously, I could do something. Each according to their need, from each according to their. Sorry, I started off talking about like these African guys watching on TikTok. They've totally taken over my For You page. These guys. Said that I would show you. He just got a little piece. That guy just got a little piece.
Good. Oh.
Guys being dudes. I don't think I heard a Bismillah. That I like to hear that. I've just been seeing these videos like nonstop. It's funny because like when suburban white ladies make stuff on the counter like this, I'm always like, disgusting. Get this away from me. Get this disgusting shit away from me. Our culture's decaying. When these people do it, I'm like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. The food does look good. I just feel like it looks hot. That's the thing I don't get. They put down this like these sizzling bowls of like stew or meat or whatever, and then they take this like starchy bread stuff, just dipping it right in the sizzling sauce and just eating it. I'm, like that would hurt me. It would physically hurt me. Fufu. Let me see if I can find some.
Bismillah.
Bismillah. There we go.
Bismillah. Oh God! Oh God!
Anyway, this is what I've been watching on TikTok lately. This is the main kind of content I've been looking at TikTok. It is just guys being dudes. Yeah, I think so. You got to trust that they've washed the hands for sure. That's what I've been up to. You're watching this and not the chocolate chip cookie guy running for president. No, I haven't heard of that guy. I honestly don't know how. Wild ride, let me tell you. The wild ride. The best outcome, and the one I'm hoping for, is that Trump and Biden both die within 2 weeks of each other in August, September. Absolutely. That would be fantastic. Just cancel and just put ChatGPT in charge. Fuck it. Just cancel the whole thing. The whole American experiment. It's just been like, we can acknowledge that it's been a failure. You know? We can acknowledge that it's just been a failure. Just throw away the whole thing. Take it quietly, Mr. X, Biden, and no one would ask any questions. I mean, I still feel like that's kind of like going on right now. The subtle undermining of Biden. Crazy enough to make conservatives hate Taylor Swift and liberals hate Jon Stewart. That's amazing. It's really amazing. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce just driving these conservatives into an absolute frenzy. Driving them into an absolute frenzy. The fucking the jock and the country singer pop star blonde. And these people are just losing their fucking minds over this.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Toilet Bowl Toots, thanks for 31 months, Tier 1. Thank you to valued community member Toilet Bowl Toots. You have these conservatives being like, oh, Taylor Swift is like, she's doing like satanic messages in their music. Like, it used to, like, conservatives used to lose their minds about like heavy metal, Ozzy Osbourne or whatever it is. Satanic music. Now they're losing their minds over Taylor Swift. this satanic messaging in Taylor Swift music. Like these are talking about adult people. Like they believe in like demons and monsters and stuff. These are like actual, they're walking around, they believe in actual monsters. Like that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with now. Have you seen the chemtrails over Vegas? No, is that a thing? They spray like Pfizer chemtrails all over the Super Bowl crowds? Is that what's going on? They're spraying the wokeness vapor. Oh, this one's woke. This one's based. Yeah, you're like a 50-year-old man. You're like you got one life. You're a 50-year-old man, and this is what you're spending your time talking about. Like, Dad, are you interested in coming over to see the grandkids? Not now, son. Not now, son. I'm dealing with this. I'm screaming online about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift putting woke Pfizer chemicals in the drinking water. Like we don't hear enough about that, right? It's like that used to be like wacky stuff. The whole like the like fluoride chemtrail drinking water stuff or whatever it is. That used to be like a fringe, weird conspiracy theory. Now that's just mainstream American culture now. Not now, son. I'm on my Telegram. I'm responding to cat turd. Generation raised on Jones. But that's the thing. Alex Jones used to be like this fringe, like weirdo. Even though he was somewhat popular. But now it's like, now he's almost the voice of reason. Talking about the Super Bowl and stuff as well, it's like I think that's something I've been thinking about as well. Like you looking around and seeing the signs of decay, you know? And I think this kind of like embrace of this kind of completely wacky worldview becoming fully mainstream, I think that's part of it. You know, we've talked before about like hypernormalization and the end of the Soviet Union and the kind of things that people were into around then. We're seeing a lot of that now, which is totally in contrast with like the numbers. All the economists are saying the numbers are great. The economy is doing great. Everything's going fine. And you're seeing all these signs of decay everywhere. You're seeing it in like in our cities, you know, in Canada and the United States. Decay, the people living on the streets, tent encampments. You know, people not able to get by, people struggling to afford a home, not able to get housing, not able to get groceries. All while being told that everything's fine, everything's actually good. And I think the big thing about like the Super Bowl and all the advertisements for sports betting and how that's like all the advertisements. How like in every single time you watch sports, all you're hearing about is betting and talking about parlays and the over-under and like this obsession with sports gambling. How that's been totally mainstreamed as well. And all these like videos, yeah, last year was crypto, yeah. And it was in Vegas for the first time, good point, yes. And all these videos like after the Super Bowl of like people smashing their TVs. You know, people used to just get upset over sports because they care about like the teams, and you know, I'm not immune to that. I've been genuinely upset and emotional and mad about sports because I'm emotionally invested in like a team or a franchise. But now people are like gambling big money, and you see all these videos after the Super Bowl, people just like losing their fucking minds. Patrick Mahomes throws a touchdown pass, wins the Super Bowl for the Chiefs, and people are just like smashing their TVs. I saw a guy like attack a guy in his house. Like, people are not okay. You know what I mean? It's really weird. Like a whole new level of degeneracy was reached with sports betting for the Super Bowl this year. You could bet on whether a ball would hit the upright on a field goal. It's just straight up robbing people. People betting huge amounts of money just on the coin flip. Just betting on the coin flip. I saw like Barstool Sports was doing that. The guy from Barstool Sports bet like 10K on tails on the coin flip at the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? All these signs of like a decaying culture, a decaying society, a decaying economic system. And then you combine that with what the economists are saying. Everything's great. We're better than ever. Look at Biden rescued the economy. The economy's better than ever. Why isn't Biden getting credit? Why isn't Biden getting credit for rescuing the economy, saving the economy? And it's incredible to me to see these signs of decay everywhere, mixed with that messaging coming from the ruling class, the establishment, empire of lies. It's weird. It's just such a weird time to be alive and to be aware of all this stuff. I saw a really upsetting TikTok today about climate change. And it just ruined my whole day. About the tipping canoe theory of climate change. How we think that it's going to be this like ongoing process of every year getting a little worse and worse. And not something that's eventually just going to one day just our whole world is just going to end basically. And like half of the world's population is going to die in like a year. That was nice. That was a good way to wake up. It was a good way to wake up and take a look at that. Just got back from the food bank and they didn't have 80% of everything. It's fine. Talk about this. Mike's cutting out. Fuck. Good. No hiss. No mic hiss. But cutting out. Good. I think that is fantastic. Here, you're a sound guy. What? For my noise gate, okay? I genuinely don't understand how it works. I'm going to tell you right now, the close threshold on the noise gate is -20. Open threshold is -15. Should it be higher? Should it be lower? I genuinely don't know. It confuses me when I start to think about it. But then I can't fuck the noise gate. Then you're going to hear me breathing. You hear me breathing and wheezing. Check. Hello. What about this? What about this? A lot of people wanting to hear me breathe. I think that's a little alarming. Here's a tweet that I wanted to discuss, though, like kind of along these lines. Hold on, I just got to check one thing here. Okay. here's a tweet that we can discuss from this like Vox guy. I think he used to be called Dr. Vox and now he's called Dr. Volts. But I think this is something that's fascinating to me, the kind of desperate flailing of the kind of progressive liberal commentariat. It's something that I find kind of fascinating. And they think that like Biden's problem is just that the media has been too critical and they can't quite explain it. And he says Biden came into office and ended the Afghanistan war, cut back on the drone program, brought COVID under control, engineered a rapid economic recovery, took historic action on climate, and sparked a manufacturing renaissance in the hardest hit areas of the country. Through all of that, media coverage has been relentlessly hostile, to the point that I doubt one of American out of 100 is even aware of most of those accomplishments. Yet we're sitting around pretending that voters just spontaneously discovered his age and hate it. I remember Biden's first days in office, a series of coalition wins. It was visibly driving the media crazy. With Afghanistan withdrawal, they finally found something they could bash him with, and they seized upon it with grotesque enthusiasm, 100% negative ever since. And we can talk a little bit about the media, especially when it comes to like empire and foreign policy and the security state. And we talked about that on the stream. The way that people were losing their fucking minds in the media over the Afghanistan withdrawal. There's somewhat of a point there. There's somewhat of a point, which is the role that the media plays in being cheerleaders for the weapons manufacturers who also fund the media. And like using that to for Trump, it was the same thing. Remember, Trump is so bad. He's dangerous. He's a demagogue. He lies. He's racist. But as soon as Trump bombs Syria, they're like, oh, he's so presidential. Look at this man. Oh, he's so presidential. What was it like? Not Jake Tapper. It was Brian Williams, I think. I'm guided by the beauty of the weapons or something like that. Some like he tried to use some like poetic Leonard Cohen line or something. So there's somewhat of a point there, but we do need to unpack this as well, right? So first of all, ended the Afghanistan war. That was a timeline that was put in place under Trump. And yeah, sure, give Biden credit for ending the Afghanistan war, although he did commit a massive war crime on his way out the door, killed a bunch of families and kids just on his way out, just to show how serious he still was about bombing brown people. At the same time, why, after ending the Afghanistan war and cutting back on the drone program, as Dr. Vox says, which I believe there's truth to as well, but the military budget in the United States has increased. You end the Afghanistan war, you end the drone program or scale back the drone program, which escalated under Obama and Vice President Biden. But then the military budget increases. And now Biden, regardless of what's going on in Afghanistan, is helping fund a genocidal mass murder campaign in Gaza and is escalating this regional conflict in Syria and Iraq and Yemen, in three different places. Joe's also responsible for starting the Afghan war as well. That's probably something we should keep in mind as well. So, but that's just one of these points. So we ended the Afghanistan war, and it's just completely ignoring the current context of what the U.S. government is funding right now and what the U.S. national security apparatus is up to at this very moment, which is funding and supporting a war. It's called a war against Hamas. Really, it's a war against little kids. Which is even more in a short span of time is actually more barbaric and more horrifying than what the United States did in Afghanistan, which was horrifying in and of itself. Brought COVID under control was amazing too, because that just did not happen. Like collectively agreeing that they're just not going to do anything about COVID anymore is not bringing it under control. It's the exact opposite. You know, they promoted this idea of which feeds into all these vaccine conspiracy theories. They promoted this idea that the vaccine was just the end of the pandemic, which, as we know, is never accurate. You know, removing any kind of masking mandate, any kind of like public health restrictions whatsoever. It blew my mind when all these loser-compatible leftists tried to position Biden as anti-imperialist for the Afghanistan policy. Yeah, this is just like jangle the keys in front of the face. Yeah, no, I know, Sam. I know. Like, and you can give credit for something whilst not having any illusions about what the United States government's policies are, or what its role is going to continue to be going forward around the world. Engineered a rapid economic recovery. And again, this is what I mean, the economic recovery. This economic recovery, look at the numbers. Look at the jobs numbers as they've rolled back all these, and like this is the contradiction too, right? He talks about in this tweet. I remember Biden's first days in office, a series of coalitional wins. A lot of that was just like instituting further policies that started under Trump in the COVID era, which were hugely economically transformative for people. A child tax credit, expanded unemployment, big economic stimulus to like help people that were impacted by this pandemic, which all got rolled back. It all got rolled back. All these people go back to work. They join the gig economy, or they get jobs at grocery stores or whatever the fuck, like wherever people need to get a job so they can go back to providing for their families, which for a few precious months under COVID, they were able to do with this kind of threadbare social democratic state that had been put in place, this threadbare kind of welfare state that had been put in place. All that shit got rolled back. And then they said, look at the job numbers. Everyone went back to work. Everyone's going back to work. The numbers are great. The numbers are fantastic. Meanwhile, people are struggling to get by. You know, inflation has not, they've talked, we've slowed down inflation. Oh, thank you. Congratulations. You've slowed it down. You've slowed down the rate of the increase. Housing completely unaffordable for anybody. Yeah, there are more jobs than ever, 3 per person. And like we talked about this, like our basic experience of like how it is to be alive in this kind of system, this economic system in either Canada or the US or wherever. How everyone realizes how much harder it is to get by now. You know, even if you have a $75,000 spreadsheet or email job, you know, if you live in like a big city, if you live in New York City, if you live in Toronto, that's barely enough now to cover basic expenses. You're still living paycheck to paycheck. If you live in a major city center, you still can't afford to ever own a home. You still can't afford childcare, which is more expensive than ever. There's so many job openings that companies don't plan to fill. They're all manipulating the optics to make the investment stock side look good. This is the thing, like this whole like economic recovery that these people are bragging about. It just seems like a total scam. It's a total con. In fact, they're lecturing work. They're like, oh, nobody wants to work. Look at all these jobs. We can't fill all these jobs. It's because everyone's lazy. Everyone's so lazy. No one wants to work. No one wants to work anymore. This is a total scam. Took historic action on climate, you know, which has involved no free transit, no high-speed rail. We're going to try and encourage people to purchase electric electric vehicles, we're going to thank you, Up the Reds. Yes. I'm still very proud of that song. Yeah. So what's this historic action on climate? We've talked about it, and it's not nothing. We're going to give tax incentives to get these companies to go into these deindustrialized areas and build new factories they're going to make EV batteries and solar panels and stuff like that. Okay, great. Fantastic. Like, that would be a really great economic policy towards climate change 30 years ago. You know? What's going on with emissions in the United States? Have emissions dropped under Joe Biden? Like, I'm asking that question honestly. Have carbon emissions dropped under Joe Biden? Massive expansion of drilling, producing more fossil fuels. Yeah, and if we do reindustrialize, we're going to reindustrialize and build these solar panel factories and EV batteries. What's that going to mean for emissions, carbon emissions? PSA, the EV credit is only for American-made cars, so you're not eligible for it if you buy a Toyota EV. Practically, it is a program only for Teslas. The EV tax credit is another Elon feeding program. Yeah, it's just another one of the subsidies. And that's part of the reason that Elon Musk has gotten so rich is by like taking those carbon offsets and like selling them. Chris Hayes tweeted about how the U.S. producing more oil now. Look, that's not good. And like we've talked about, Carrier Wave, if we were producing more oil and the communities, like in like the communities where the fracking is so prevalent in like Pennsylvania or wherever else, if those communities were actually profiting from that, okay, then we could talk about that. Yeah, it's not great in terms of emissions, but at least the profits are going into these communities, and we're using those profits to build high-speed rail. We're using the profits to build schools or housing. You know, that's not happening now. That's not happening. What's going on is that we're extracting the resources, and these massive conglomerates are selling it to other people. It's not, or if we were expanding domestic energy production, and our energy costs were dropping in this country, in Canada or the United States. Okay, we could talk about that. All our energy costs are increasing. They're all going up, not down. And the profits from selling these resources are not going into our communities. They're going into the bank accounts of CEOs and board members and shareholders for these massive energy conglomerates. Yeah, it is Alberta's gimmick. It's interesting, actually. I've been watching the new season of True Detective, which is pretty good. It's not quite as like revelatory as the first season was when I was watching it. Going, this seems like really like an all-time great series, but I've been enjoying it. But it does get into that a little bit about how these energy companies basically, these energy companies kind of bribe these communities with jobs. And they're like, oh, you want to shut down this mine? You want to shut down this refinery? The whole town's going to collapse. This town only exists because of this providing the jobs that are provided by this company. Meanwhile, they're poisoning the drinking water. They're poisoning the environment and not sharing any of the profits they're getting. They give a few jobs to people. They go, oh, look at all the jobs. Look at all the jobs and the investment that's going on. Wouldn't it be great to have one of these great jobs in the energy, in the oil fields or the tar sands or the whatever? And meanwhile, the profits are not staying in the community. The profits are getting siphoned out of the ground. You know what I mean, though? When it comes to like climate, historic action on climate, we could talk about domestic energy production if it was lowering energy costs for people that actually live here. If the profits from this domestic energy production was actually meaningfully like helping our communities, was leading to like more housing, more opportunity, schools, power plants, or being put into a transition into sustainable energy, like what China's doing right now. As we've talked about, China's installed more solar panels last year than have ever been installed in the United States of America's history. So we could talk about domestic energy production like it was this big, amazing accomplishment worth bragging about, if it was actually meaningfully like improving anyone's lives beyond just the few lucky people that get to work in this industry and get a decent job from it. But that's not what's happening. I spent the weekend in West Virginia with my in-laws, and you could see all of that money was extracted. And none of it was spent on the people of the state. It's like the poorest state. Isn't it the poorest state in the country, or one of them? Like, it's incredible. Like, it's sick. It's sickening. And this is the historic action on climate again. And it's this, the secondary part is sparked a manufacturing renaissance in the hardest hit areas of the country. That, I like Cinnamon Challenge was pointing out a couple of minutes ago, that is in itself debatable. I know that's a part of the Inflation Reduction Act or whatever, going into these deindustrialized places and building these kinds of factories. But if you want to describe that as a manufacturing renaissance in the hardest hit areas of the country, that I think would be up for debate, using that kind of language. Joe already gave up on the jobs being union jobs. Yeah, if they were union jobs, these companies just wouldn't build the factories there. Like, what do we think globalization was in the first place? What do we think neoliberalism was in the first place? It was giving these companies an opportunity to build factories with non-unionized employees.
To talk you through all this.
From the river to the CBB, I hope everyone's day is going well.
Thank you, Envy Adams, for the 17 months. I hope your day is going well too. Thanks again. So I think it's amazing seeing people like David Roberts just looking around going like, why is everyone so mad at Joe Biden? Everything's just been going so great. Everything's been going so great. Why is everyone so mad? It must be because of the media. And yet there's big problems with the media. And there's no doubt about that. But the idea that the Biden administration has just been this huge success story and just people are just missing it because people are so stupid that they just listen to the media rather than like looking at their own fucking bank account, you know, that I think is a bit of a reach. I think it's a bit of a stretch. How could we miss the FDR, the sequel, aka Joe? Well, that's the funny thing that I talked about as well, which is that Biden could have been seen as the next FDR. All Biden had to do, it was literally handed to him on a silver platter, was handed to him. Just make those COVID social benefits permanent that were already there, that were put in place almost by a fucking miracle. The child tax credit, the expanded unemployment, whatever other kind of like threadbare social policies that were put in place. Just make those, that's all he had to do is make those permanent. And he would be viewed as like the next FDR. But they rolled it all back. Oh, we didn't want to though. Oh, it was Joe Manchin. Oh, it was Kristen Sinema. Oh, if only people had voted just a little bit harder. It's your fault, really. It's your fault. You just didn't vote hard enough. I know you voted, especially young people. You voted, but just not quite enough, though. Just not quite enough. You just got to vote a little bit harder next time, and then we're going to do it. Then we're going to institute all these policies. Just you wait. Just you wait. Just vote a little bit harder next time. We just need to vote in a 60-40 Senate majority. It's our fault if we don't. Not that it's very statistically improbable. Or, the fact that when Americans actually did that and did vote in a 60-40 Senate majority, and it still just wasn't enough. Oh, we were so close. It just wasn't. We just need like 62 next time. If we could just get there. We did have 60. Yes, that's true one time, but it just wasn't enough. I promise every victory will be incomplete. Yeah, how inspiring. Yes, we can. I remember was the big thing. Yes, we can. But apparently you can't, actually. That's the funny thing. I think it was Chomsky that talked about Sarah Palin going, how did all that hopey, changey stuff work out for you? And it's not to give credit to Sarah Palin, but it's like, she was kind of cooking there a little bit. How did that hopey, changey stuff work out? That's actually a good question. Yeah, for sure, Spooky. You know what? And if they had passed, like you say, Pelosi going around progressives to kill that Build Back Better bill was what killed it for Dems, that bill would have actually moved the needle for the working class. And I agree. You know what? And if they had actually passed that, who is a huge critic of like neoliberalism, Joe Biden, this kind of mainstream liberal establishment, I would have been like, yeah, I got to hand it to them. They really, they did kind of do some stuff. And I would have. I was ready to give them credit for it. He didn't even pass the bill named after his campaign slogan. And the guy that blocked it in his own party, Biden had nothing to say about it. I don't think I heard Joe Biden say the words Joe Manchin once. And in fact, gave that whole like Inflation Reduction Act and gave Manchin a big win with that. Candidate Obama was great. President Obama sucked shit. We hoped that President Obama would change back into Candidate Obama. And this is the same thing with every political candidate that you get your hopes up for my entire life. Eventually we just got to stop falling for this shit. And I see people trying to, even people that I like, well-meaning people, try to draw these differences between Democrats and Republicans. Well, Democrats, they want to have universal daycare and they want to do this and they want to do that. But it's like, eventually you just can't take things that a politician says just at face value. We want to do this, despite the fact that like at no time in the last 30 years have we ever, when we wield power, done anything to meaningfully institute any of these ideas. You guys have to stop giving them credit for saying, we want to do this. Well, you don't want to. If you wanted to, you would do it. Thanks, Sean. Well, you know what? It helps me to talk about this with all you folks. Honestly, I find it's very helpful for me to be able to talk about. It speaks to how completely delusional
you can
these
count on me.
These
You're
people
gonna
are.
have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Happy anniversary, Father Rob.
Thank you, Timmy. Thanks for 6 months, tier 1. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Timmy. It speaks to how completely delusional these people are that now they're looking at, because Jon Stewart is back on The Daily Show. Jon Stewart, a former beef subject of mine, We've beefed. Me and Jon Stewart have beefed before. But now you have these people. Jon Stewart came back to host The Daily Show and did a segment last night about how the two leading presidential candidates are both these geriatric fucking weird losers. And liberals are just losing their minds over it. Like this, they think Jon Stewart is like this beacon of radicalism now. That's what's happening with these folks. So let's watch this Jon Stewart clip. I haven't watched it yet. Let's see if he's still got the heater. Man, I used to watch The Daily Show every night. Prior to 2012, I really thought The Daily Show was like the best. Here it is. Indecision 2024. Let's see what's got these liberals so up in arms here. Sorry. Folks, President Biden, look, he's sharp. He's sharp. Okay, there's no decline. This man is in full control of his mental faculties. I went to all the meetings. So no cognitive decline whatsoever. This man is just in the best shape of his life, physically and mentally, okay? There's nothing wrong with the president. It doesn't matter that he's one of the oldest human beings to ever live. It doesn't matter that he looks like a skeleton that's about ready to turn to dust at the next strong gust of wind. This man is in full control. It's on you. Okay? It's not just about voting. It's on you. You got to get out every day. It's a lunch pail job every day. It's not just about November 5th. It's about November 6th, 7th, 8th, and every day after that. You got to go in the streets. Well, this is the problem, is that people are getting out in the streets. It turns out that doesn't actually accomplish anything. This is the issue. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not, voting doesn't actually do that much. You're right. Nor does protesting, nor does boycotting, nor does direct action. People have been protesting their fucking asses off for 3 straight months, every single weekend, to stop the liberal Democratic Party sponsoring a genocidal mass murder campaign that's killed over 12,000 children at this point. People have been protesting every single week. People have been doing direct actions at politicians' offices, at weapons manufacturers. People have been boycotting. People have been screaming from the fucking rooftops. You know, and it's not just about Palestine. It's about the climate. There's climate protests always. People are doing the very thing that he's finger wagging people about. They are doing it. They are doing it. They're protesting. They're showing up at Democratic politicians' office because they've abandoned. They know that the right and people in the conservative part of the government, they're not on the side, so they're going and protesting and doing direct action at like Democratic liberal politicians, and they're getting told to they're getting the cops called on them. They can protest. The people are doing that. This is how people pass the buck. So it's not just about voting. It's not just about voting. You got to do the work day in, day out. Well, turns out that doesn't actually fucking accomplish anything. Or during BLM, thank you, Risk Inverse, the largest mass protest movement in modern American history about police violence, about police departments across the country monopolizing all these city budgets, how the entire institution of policing is basically this overtime scam for these reactionary testosterone-fueled freaks. And they protested. And more people today are being killed by the police in the streets than there were previously. More police departments getting more money than they were getting previously. You know, with Palestine, with policing, with the climate. People are doing the work, John. People are doing the work. They're not just relying on voting. Is John a Bernie guy now, or is that too far? Of course it's too far, Cinnamon Challenge. He fucking quit the show at a time when his voice might have mattered. He quit doing this show at a time when promoting Bernie Sanders may have actually made a small difference. I guess Jon Stewart wants rich people to get out in the street and tell everyone to quit bitching. Well, that's what we were joking about, the rally to restore sanity. That's what that was about, was to be like, hey, everyone needs to tone it down, right? So which is it? Which is it? No, people need to do the work every day. And people do the work every day. to make the kind of change you want to see. Don't just rely on these geriatric old motherfuckers. And then during that era, Jon Stewart is the first people to go out there being like, hey, people are going too far here. People are going way too far. We all got to calm down. We got to find some kind of common ground. We got to meet in the middle. We got to stop yelling at each other. So, like, which is it? He made that movie Rosewood, wanted to be a serious guy. Well, that's the thing. To show how serious he is, he goes after all of America's enemies. And he supports the troops. No one supports the troops more than Jon Stewart. That's the thing. Because he wants people to calm down and stop getting so mad at each other. But when it comes to those troops or the 9/11 responders, which 9/11 responders should be taken care of. That's absolutely true. But when you talk about the troops, Jon Stewart gets very upset. He gets very upset. That's when he goes and yells at Congress.
You can count on me. You're gonna
That's
have
when he
good
goes
old
and yells
Rob
at people.
to,
That's when he
talk you
uses
through all this.
all the power of his
They will
platform.
fix it, Rob. I salute our leaders and they will fix things. We just need to vote, 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 vote.
Freelance communist, thank you for the 21 months. That's when Jon Stewart, that's when he drops all the civility and all the decorum. He doesn't want to come across as being partisan or whatever. That's when we got to really hold people to account here. The troops are being disrespected. The troops are not being taken care of. He was really into the Wuhan COVID conspiracy. That is true. In fact, I believe he quit his Apple show that he was doing, The Problem with Jon Stewart, because he was like, I want to be able to criticize China. And Apple is they don't let me because they're too beholden to the Chinese. They won't let me criticize China. That's why he left his show. He went hawk mode on China because, this is liberal. This is a boring liberal. And that's why other American liberals are framing him like he's some kind of extremist now because he mentioned that Biden is old as fuck and it's embarrassing. Yes, Fox on the Wall. Yes. Giving awards to Nazis. Well, that's it. And someone sent this clip a few minutes ago from later in this show where radical extremist Jon Stewart showed how serious he was about foreign policy, interviewing Economist editor Zanny Minton Beddoes. She says that like it's a good thing. That's a proxy war. People say, it's Putin propaganda to call it a proxy war. And then they just come on and say it. They just come right out and say it. And Jon Stewart leaves it completely unchallenged.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
We support the troops around here. And by troops, I mean Twitch streamers and delivery drivers.
Thank you, Bleep Lord. Thank you.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Quiet part out loud, TRRS.
Thank you, Jack, for the 22 months. Resub a tier 2. Thank you, Jack. The idea that that Ukrainians dying enhances American security in any way. The White House, we're not at war with Russia. NATO, we're at war with Russia. Germany, we're at war with Russia. The Economist, we're at war with Russia. Just like we're not at war with Yemen, we're not at war with Iran, we're not at war with Iraq, Syria. Just look over there. What's going on over there? I don't know. What's going on? It's amazing. She just says it, totally unchallenged by Jon Stewart.
Clear, aiding Ukraine, giving the...
And look at this, 1 hour ago. 1 hour ago, thankfully. This just in, breaking news story here.
Overnight, the Senate passed a bill providing aid to Ukraine and Israel, but it faces solid GOP opposition in the House. Selena Wang has the story. Good morning, Selena.
Hey, good morning, George. The Senate started voting on this at 5:15 a.m. and it just passed moments ago. Senators, they worked through the night, overcoming delays from some Republicans to pass more aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. But this will face strong pushback in the House. In fact, House Speaker Mike Johnson already said he's not even going to take it up in the House unless it includes changes to border policy. But that is exactly what senators originally tried to do. A group of bipartisan senators worked for months to negotiate a massive bill that would address foreign aid and the immigration crisis. But then Donald Trump derailed it by pressuring Republicans to vote against it. So now the Senate is back.
So that they tried to do 4D chess by tying in aid for these 3 U.S. proxy states. And by the way, if anyone is still like, oh, I support Palestine, but also we got to support Ukraine, like, it's really just like, it couldn't be more obvious there what's going on, right? Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. It's not about protecting Ukraine, first of all. And yeah, we tried to appeal to Republicans by including these fascist draconian immigration policies. And they said, no, that's where America is at, is that like the only possibility of this kind of like bill getting scuttled is just because the conservative movement is just so insanely reactionary that like they can't support things even when they support it. And now you have Republicans stopping aid to Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan because it doesn't contain enough evil border policies. And when they try to package it with evil border policies to appease these people, they still say no just because they can't be seen to be working with the other side on anything. That's like really, it's a positive thing when it comes to like, if seeing this empire in decline is something that you want to see, which is something that I do want to see. And I think many people do as well. The only reason is just the United States government is just so completely dysfunctional that it just can't pass this kind of legislation anymore. Showing Republicans they're such hypocrites by doing exactly what they want. Exactly. We sure outsmarted them by advocating for their own policies. We really outsmarted them. And Biden came out and said the Republicans actually don't care about the border. We actually want a more draconian border. Yep. No, that's liberalism. That's triangulation. That's liberal triangulation.
Square one with this $95 billion bill that
$95
only
billion.
addresses foreign aid with no clear prospects in the House.
And like, fuck. The United States military budget is almost $1 trillion per year. And that's not enough, apparently. Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan needs more. No, separate from the annual $1 trillion budget. Separate from that, we got to have an extra $95 billion that we just found lying around. But you can't have unemployment benefits or a child tax credit. Or we can't build public housing. This is what I've been trying to tell people all along. Like, just the very fact that the United States government is funding Ukraine should show you that it's not just about like protecting people's democracy and sovereignty. That's not why the United States government does these things. It's completely incoherent to fund Ukraine and fund Israel at the same time. And to pretend that one is being done for some noble purpose. Oh, but it's actually super evil to do the other thing. Yeah, Night Owl, I mean, to go back to the whole thing of Jon Stewart freaking out about protecting the troops and all that, that's a good point. $1 trillion per year. The actual people that are used as cannon fodder to fight in these wars are on food stamps or living on the street. And when it comes time to like funding Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan and these U.S. proxies, which is what they are, we need an extra $100 billion. The $1 trillion annually is not enough. It's not enough to send to these proxies. It's not enough to actually support the actual human beings that we're sending over there to fight in these wars. It is insane. And this is all under a Democratic administration. $1 trillion annually. Like, really think about that. And what the whole Build Back Better agenda that they debated, we talked about it about an hour ago, that whole Build Back Better agenda, like what was that? A little over $1 trillion over like a 10-year period. We can't dip into that Lockheed or Raytheon money. I'm sure you understand. And like we're talking about as well, this aid to Israel and Ukraine and Taiwan, they can only spend that aid on American weapons. So really, that's just an extra $95 billion, not going to Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan, but going to the weapons manufacturers. The same people that are getting the $1 trillion annually, going to the same place. It's to the same people. And like this is something that I find interesting as well. Like we've talked about. We talked about the role that the United States corporate media plays in like cheerleading for these weapons manufacturing companies. A lot of these companies are at least partially funding these big mainstream media institutions. And that's a kind of like sleight of hand that's taking place as well. When the United States government basically just exists to funnel money to these weapons contractors. And then these weapons contractors in turn fund think tanks around the world, like the ASPI, for example, that comes up with all this anti-China propaganda, or they fund corporate media. Really, it's just the United States government funding these things, but there's this middleman that's in place. The United States government gives the money to the middleman, in this case, like Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, whatever. They then fund think tanks, they fund the media, they fund campaigns. But really, it's a scam, though. It's all just the state, right? The state. According to this guy, right? It's not just the government. But ultimately, it's the state funding all these things. And we say we have a free press. We have a free press. We don't have a state-controlled media, not like DPRK, not like China, not like Cuba, not like Bolivia. We don't have a state-controlled media. You do. You do, though. This is the this is the authoritarian dictatorship that we live in. And it's all just hidden. It's just hidden beneath the surface. And we get a few little treats. We get the ability to go out into the street and yell and hoot and holler about things that we don't like. We can boycott things. We can protest. We can vote for a couple different parties, 2 in America and a handful in Canada, even though it's only 2 parties that have ever formed government. Really, it's an authoritarian dictatorship. It's hidden just beneath the surface. It's a dictatorship of capital. It's the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. Maybe there's something to this Marx guy. Maybe we got to start paying attention to some of the stuff this guy was talking about, instead of teaching people that it's the ultimate evil. The ultimate evil. Oh, no, you can never learn about this. Why, you're going to talk about Lenin? You're going to talk about Marx? Oh, that's so dangerous. That's why they say that. Because these guys outlined this whole problem with Western liberal democracy centuries ago. And we're still going, this doesn't seem very democratic at all. A century later. What's going on here? No shit, people are confused. An extra $95 billion to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Amazing. And it's funny because you have Democratic Party politicians. Look at this community note. This is amazing. This guy, Senator Chris Van Hollen. Do you see this? By all accounts, he's using his grave voice. By all accounts, the situation in Gaza has gone from a nightmare to pure hell. I'm on the Senate floor now to discuss the urgent need for the Biden administration to hold the Netanyahu government accountable and get critical humanitarian assistance into Gaza. Thank you, sir.
October 7th. Never again. I also repeated my calls to
of course, he front loads this fiery speech with the
terror attacks committed by
basically saying that
Hamas
Israel was a
against
victim of a
Israel on
Holocaust,
October
essentially.
7th, the brutal murder of about 1,200 people,
Still,
and the
still
seizure
repeating,
of two.
still repeating 1,200, the brutal murder of 1,200 people. Still saying that. So front-loading this criticism with total fabrications now that have been completely debunked at this point.
240 hostages. I underscored the fact that Israel not only has the right, but it has the duty to defend itself against those heinous acts.
So front-loading this critique with all the code words.
October 7th. Never
the brutal
again.
murder of uniformed
I
concentration
also
camp
repeated my
guards.
calls to prioritize the release of hostages, including American citizens. Madam President, I also pointed out that while Israel is conducting a just war, it must be waged justly, including taking all necessary measures to protect innocent civilians.
It's amazing how they dismantle their own pathetic critique in the what's supposed to be a fiery, passionate speech about how it's turning into pure hell. It's a just war. Is it a just war or not? You're saying that it's pure hell. It's a just war. It needs to be prosecuted justly. Anyway, this is you get the chance, and then look, you get the idea of what this speech is about. The urgent need for the Biden administration to hold the Netanyahu government accountable and get critical humanitarian assistance into Gaza. And this is an amazing community note, honestly. I've had my problems personally with community notes. Like in my own personal commentary and just in general. It says, Senator Chris fails to mention that after this rousing speech, he voted in favor of sending more arms to Israel and completely cutting funding to UNRWA. Fantastic. So brave, sir. So brave. And there's Melanie Joly as well. Melanie Joly, if you want to take the Canada angle. Look at this. The civilians in Rafah are people. They're mothers, children. They have names, stories, and they exist. This is a very Kamala-ass quotation. And they exist. Asking them to move again is unacceptable, she says. They have nowhere to go. We need a hostage deal for more humanitarian aid to enter Gaza, and we need a sustainable ceasefire. Thank you, Melanie. Wow, that's so brave.
I'm very concerned about what's going on in Gaza, in particular in Rafah. The operation would be devastating and is devastating to Palestinians and all those seeking refuge, including foreign nationals and including Canadians. These are people, our mothers, our children. They have names. They have their own stories. They're
this
human
just makes
beings.
me sick. Like, I've talked about it before. This, like what we're seeing right now, I find it more disgusting than people that just unapologetically support the mass murder. You know? The people that are just out there saying like, no, the civilians deserve it. They just deserve it. They support Hamas. They thought what happened on October 7th was good. They deserve it. I actually think this is worse. It's honestly more disgusting to try and wrap the genocidal policy that your government is supporting and trying to do this like hand-wringing and this wrapping to this progressive language. I find it so much more cynical and grotesque than the people that are just honest genocidal maniacs.
They exist, and we see them.
You've just helped kill 30,000 people.
What the Netanyahu government is asking them to do, which is to leave again,
the government that we fully support,
is unacceptable because they have nowhere to go. And so that's why we need right now for the violence to stop. We need a sustainable ceasefire. We need a hostage deal. Hostages must be released and humanitarian aid must go in. So that's why I'll be working on this, particularly this week. I'm heading to Washington later today. I'll be meeting with Secretary Blinken tomorrow. And also I'll be meeting with my Jordanian counterpart in Washington. And also I'll be meeting with him as the King of Jordan is coming to Ottawa later this week.
The meeting of the minds, Melanie Joly and Anthony Blinken, they're really going to put their heads together and solve this thing now. The Trudeau government has authorized $28.5 million of new military exports to Israel since October. They've supported this every step of the way. And they're using this this language about a ceasefire as well to try and give themselves cover. Like someone was speculating a moment ago. Let me just see who that was. I'm sorry. I want to give credit here about this. I think it was Kev B1. Are they just trying to have something on the record to attempt to protect themselves from charges? That could be it. Like that literally could be it. That they want to try and distance themselves a little bit in case there's any actual consequences for the fucking mass murder that they've fully supported every step of the way. That could very well be it. Not that that should matter. Again, they've supported this every step of the way. And using this language about a ceasefire, I think is really interesting as well. Because what that means when you actually unpack it, that means Palestinians fully surrendering. The entire Palestinian resistance fully surrendering. Hamas disbanded. Just releasing all these hostages. And when she's talking about a hostage deal, I would be wondering about whether that includes actual Palestinian hostages that have been taken hostage by Israel. So they're promoting this idea of a sustainable ceasefire that, from the Palestinian perspective, is going to be 100% a non-starter. So it gives them a little bit of credibility, or it gives them a little bit of distance from what they've been supporting, but they know it's never going to actually happen. If Hamas actually surrenders, they'll just say they didn't really surrender and the bombing must continue. Of course, as we've talked about, Hamas could disband tomorrow. It would not stop it. As long as the occupation continues, as long as the apartheid continues, this ongoing cycle is going to continue. Whether they call it Hamas or whatever else, whatever the next name for the next resistance group is. There's always going to be resistance, and including, yes, violent armed resistance, as long as this system of apartheid and violence and exploitation continues. Yeah, and Israel just said no. Hamas has been the one offering these deals since October 8th. All of the hostages that these people claim to care about could have been released on October 8th. Israel literally just said no to that latest offering that would have gotten all the hostages released. I've got about a little over an hour left to go in the stream today. I've been ranting and raving for about the last hour and 45 minutes, I would say. There's been some very good discussions. Some very good conversation. I think I would probably like to put on some kind of video content now that we can take a look at and also talk about. I would like to remind you, though, folks, that if you do enjoy this program, we talk a lot about our media class, the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie and all this kind of stuff, and how completely useless and futile and reactionary our media establishment is. For now, I still have the ability to offer up some kind of counter-programming to that. To some people in this community, it seems like it's been useful over the last couple of months and years. We're in season 4 now. So if you do enjoy this program, please subscribe if you can. As you know, in order to do this show each and every day, I must make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up. I must make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up every single day. It's the only way, folks, that I'm able to continue doing this show every single day. This show that and this community that you love. It's the only way that exists. So if you can, only if you can. If you can't, then don't. If you really can't, then I don't want you to. But if you can, please subscribe to this program. Please support TRRS. If you like this show, if you appreciate the work that I do on here every day, and it is work, as you know, if you appreciate the work that I do each and every day here on Twitch, please subscribe if you can.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Help me get the little number to go up. Vexing Thoughts, you got gifted a sub right at the exact moment that you asked for that. Amazing. Plunger Man, thank you for the gifted sub. I really appreciate it. If you can, folks, please help me subscribe to this program. I don't even really do ad breaks. Like, I know some people get ads. I've never wanted to have ads on this channel. Like, I the only ads that play are like the ones that Twitch just like forces on people. I never do planned ad breaks or any of that stuff. I don't want to have ads on this channel. It's the only way that I really make any income whatsoever from this channel is through the generosity of the community. It's 100% community funded. So if you can, please subscribe. It's $4.99 per month to subscribe. You get all the tiny little images, which you can use wherever you're on chatting on Twitch. You join this community, join the Friendship Triangle system. And I appreciate it a lot. And we become friends when you do. And if you get 5 subs or above, it of course triggers some very cool and fun alerts for our very generous 5 sub gifters and 10 sub gifters, and even the very extremely generous 20 sub gifters. Some of the very coolest alerts. So if you can, please subscribe, folks. We got one in that whole call to action. We got one, and Plunger Man, I appreciate it. That was fantastic. We got one. That's not nothing. Thank you for complimenting my mullet, Spooky. It's really hard. I've realized it's hard for me to have a mullet because it gets very curly back there. So sometimes you don't notice that it's there, but it's there. Believe me. What if I puff out the mullet more? Is that worth a couple subs to people? Because I can do that as well.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
See? I am not talking about pubes. No, I'm not doing that. Thank you, Mercurial Shroom 420. Thank you, Mercurial Shroom. I appreciate it. We're a mere 20 subs away from the goal, folks. This call to action is going great so far. We're a mere 20 subs away from the goal. One extremely generous gifter could trigger one of the coolest alerts and get the show to the sub goal.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
JJ, thank you for the 15 months tier 1. I appreciate you, JJ. Thank you. Sorry, Rob, everyone spent all their cash subbing from my non-affiliate account, suckers. But they should be doing that. I'm glad that they were doing that. It's no excuse. It's not an either-or situation. Put the cat ears on and stand in the corner. Double whammy. That plan's destined for greatness. Well, the cat ears only go over my headphones. That's the problem. Refreshing water. I've got such a terrible beverage loadout in the fridge right now. I had like a couple weeks ago, I got, you know, when you fill up your fridge or whatever, like I got 2 cases of Diet Coke and 2 cases of fizzy water. And it's like you look in the fridge and it's like you see all the fridge packs and it's like, oh yeah, I'm never going to run out. I'm never going to run out of these beverages. Look at this. I got so much selection. And slowly but surely it all just goes away. Now I got nothing. I have nothing. I have no beverages anymore. I got to go figure that out. I'm gonna stand up for a sec. Oh. I did get a cushion for my chair, so it's like I realized it was getting kind of hard on the old tailbone kind of situation to be always sitting down in this chair for like hours at a time. And I've not really been taking many breaks. I'm really just sitting in this chair for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. The cushion has helped, but I think sometimes I do need a little rest. Do you have a quality selection of corner stores in Montreal? I love a good corner store. Well, the thing is, Dr. Mega, they're not called corner stores here. They're called dépanneurs. I have a great dépanneur right next door. But they don't have like the fridge packs of soda. That's the problem. They only have 2 liters, and I don't like it out of the bottle. I'll get in if I'm desperate, I'll pick up a 2 liter or whatever of something, but I don't like it. I don't like it. It's not good. A 2 liter bottles. Like what are we doing here? What are we doing? Don't be desperate.
You can
for
count
soda,
on
but
me.
I can't
You're
help
gonna
it,
have
though.
good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Ben, thank you for the 27 months of tier 1. I love cracking open a nice ice cold can of either soda or fizzy water. You know, we're on this earth for a limited amount of time. It's just one of those things that I happen to enjoy. You know? It's just a nice little treat. Yeah, we check out Electronic Antifada all the time. Their commentary has been absolutely essential over the last couple of months. You're supposed to squeeze together the 2 liter to avoid staleness. The thing is, Egan Praktig, it's not even just about the staleness. It's just cracking open the can. It's the sound. It's when you drink it and it hits your lips and it makes this little bubbly like sound. It's just not the same. Even if it's fizzy, pouring it into a glass and drinking it is just, I don't like it. I just don't like it as much. I like to drink it out of a can. The cold metal and the bite of the cola, it's just, there's something beautiful about that. I think it's one of the greatest achievements of Western civilization. Yeah, it's like smoking. It's not just the nicotine. It's the whole thing. Exactly. Found y'all through Julian QAA, the new goose cult. Well, that's actually not a cult. That's the big difference between me and Julian. No cult stuff going on over here. Don't worry about that. Although if you do want to know anything about this community, I have put together a little explainer video that does explain what this community is about. And I'm still hoping to get a few more generous subscribers or sub gifters over the next couple of minutes. So if you're not sure about what it is you're supporting and what this community is about, please, I've put together this little video presentation. Please take a look at that. And if you can, please subscribe to this channel.
Thank you for expressing interest in the Friendship Triangle community. We would be thrilled to have you on board as a member of our exclusive platform. As you may know, the Friendship Triangle is Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped, friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. Today you have an amazing opportunity to join the base level of the Friendship Triangle system. Once you are part of the community, you'll have the ability to rise through the ranks and achieve higher levels of access and rewards. One way to do this is by gifting subscriptions to your fellow members or by inviting your friends and family members to join our community. As you ascend the tiers, you will be exposed to a range of new and exciting benefits, such as exclusive content, advanced features, and access to our elite community members. We are confident that you will enjoy all the perks that come with being part of the Friendship Triangle. However, we also want to remind you that not all friends and family members are to be trusted, especially those who may not support your new lifestyle. That's why we encourage you to focus on building meaningful relationships within our community, where you will find like-minded individuals who share your interests and values. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We are always here to support our members and ensure that your experience with the Friendship Triangle is enjoyable. We're glad that you are considering joining the Friendship Triangle community. We look forward to seeing you rise through the Chaos Zone and all the way into the Elite tier. It's not a cult.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
There you go. If you weren't sure about what that's about. Dr. Maggot, thanks for the gifted sub. Much appreciated. Thank you. The thing is about supporting this community, subscribing to this channel, it's the opportunity that you can't afford not to take it. This is the issue. You know? You can't afford not to take this step. This isn't about me. It's about you. Okay? I'm trying to help you. This is the thing. Sometimes you go into these segments.
We simply
and you're like, oh,
use the
Rob's
computer to mark up the size of the
whatever.
account.
British sci-fi shows be like, what if mum were a computer?
Thank you, Joe. They do be like that. Thank you for the 200 bits. But you know what I mean, though? It's not about me. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you improve your life. I'm trying to give you access to all kinds of wonderful new friends and community members. Help me help you. You know, if you want to improve your life, if you're feeling isolated, alienated, you don't have connections with people, you don't have community, you don't have friendship, it just takes one step. You got to take that. You got to put one foot in front of the other. You got to take that first step. It can seem intimidating sometimes. It can seem impossible. But it's really just about taking that first step towards changing your life, changing your circumstances. Oh, my mum's a computer, isn't it? And ACAB Antifa, thanks for continuing the gift sub. Thank you. For some reason, that doesn't trigger an alert. I don't really know how that works. Look at all these tiny Hojas. This is the only Twitch channel that when you subscribe, you get access to a tiny little image of former Albanian leader Enver's Hoja. This is it's the only channel that you have the ability to do that. Anyway, hopefully we'll make up the rest of the subs over the next hour or so. Let's see what there is to look at here. Let's see. Let's see what we got. What do we got? If you'll just give me one moment here, just talk amongst yourselves. Here, just listen to this. Check out the Katie Halpern Matt Lieb one. Okay. I should get Katie to come on. I've been talking to Katie about doing something for a while.
I wanted to show some of
on.
the videos that you've done, Matt, because they really capture so much about this liberal Zionism. And they're very politically useful, actually. Let's start with the one where, because you brought up growing up thinking that maybe you'd have to go to Israel to flee. Yeah. So let's watch that one.
I've told Matt this. The first time I saw a Matt Lieb video, I totally got punked. I was ready to, I actually quote tweeted it. I'm like, look at this fucking liberal Zionist. He was the sincerity, the deadpanness, and I'm hard to fool. So props to you, Matt.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people do not understand what Israel means to me as an American Jew, as a liberal Zionist. It's kind of like our plan B. Like our plan A, obviously, is to, not have racist, bigoted genociders coming to power in America so we can live here peacefully. If that doesn't happen, then we're going to have to move to Israel. And the only way to escape the racist, bigoted genociders is to just do a racist, bigoted genocide ourselves. You have to understand that, one day I might have to move there probably. Basically, we have to do our own genocide in order to get genocide. We have to do genocide first. I want to live in peace. I don't want to fight in a war. So I'm going to let the Israelis die in a war, and I'm going to let the Palestinians die even more in a war. I could show up and go, oh, good, we already did a genocide. And I can be like, that was bad. We shouldn't have done that.
How do I feel about the goatee? I don't think that I'm in any position to be making comments on people's bad facial hair. That's all I'll say about that. Not to say that it's bad. Making any comments at all. Excuse me.
But, you know, I'm glad though. I don't want to live in a war zone, so I want them to do the war now and then show up. But probably never. I don't even want to live there because I like it
No
here.
clipping.
'Cause I've got a nice apartment. I'm in a good neighborhood for school. Like, I don't actually think I will ever move there. But just in case, they should kill all of them. Because what if we get genocided here? God forbid. So we gotta do it first. Then I still won't move there, but I'll be glad.
That's liberal Zionist.
That one is kind of high concept. There's a moment where all of a sudden the world flips and your voice changes and you go like it's like
there
really
is another one that's
trippy.
kind of like that one, the bad one, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the bad one. I've gone bad.
Yeah, let's play that one.
I'm a liberal Zionist, and I have to say that I actually do agree with a lot of what the pro-Palestinian left has to say about Israel. The occupation is awful and it needs to end. The settlers are crazy. We have to do something about that. Netanyahu is a criminal. He's going to lead Israel to ruin. The 17-year siege of Gaza has been brutal and it is completely unconscionable. I agree that Israel is essentially, in parts of it, an apartheid state. But like the one thing is, after the 7th, the thing is that I don't care anymore. I'm bad now. Because, like, here's the thing. After the 7th, I just kind of realized if it's us or them, then it's got to be us. No more them. I've never thought I could be a fascist, but I think I'm a fascist now. And it's kind of great because I have all these new friends. Me and Amy Schumer and the ugly guy from Stranger Things. And I'm getting all these new job opportunities. And I'm like, okay, if this is what... I didn't know that fascism came with stuff. If I had known that, I'd have been a fascist a long time ago. It's kind of nice too, because now I get to be like, ooh, I'm bad. So I'm just going to be bad now. Like, I can still believe all that other stuff too, but just not now. I'm going to wait till later. But for now, I'm going to be bad. Okay. Bye-bye.
I was like, oh, that's a fun way to, like, you know, visually show someone turning into a little fucking baby. I turn into a fucking baby because this is like the thing I noticed. Like, both of those things are based on conversations that I had, and I've had nothing but fucking conversations since October 7th with Jews that I know who I've been watching, you know, like, become nationalists out of fucking nowhere. And trying to, you know, like, first hear them out, because I'm not here to yell at them. I'm, you know, these are people that I know. I want to listen and I want to understand. And then me trying to reason with them and just like hitting this brick wall where I realize at some point they just turn into a little baby in the conversation. It becomes like, you know, well, you know, I don't know. I just feel like we have to, like, what else can we do?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Big
I saw
refrain.
Yeah, what else? And you actually tweeted this out, 9 characters. You just tweeted this out. It wasn't a video. It's like, is there something between nothing and genocide?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It's just the dumbest. It's the dumbest premise. Like, well, what? We can't help but kill 30,000 people because what's the other answer? No response.
Yes. And that's the, you know, this, like, this baby character that a lot of people put on. Some people I think are doing it earnestly. I think you know, some people are just babies. You know, I have a 15-month-old baby, and you know how many fucking things she thinks is a tractor? Everything.
Right.
And that's what it's like talking to liberal Zionists.
They think everything's a terrorist.
They think everything's a terrorist. They think everything's anti-Semitism. And a lot of people are doing this in this totally, I mean, they're full of shit. When someone online says, especially someone who all they talk about is how they are a Zionist and how Israel must win and all this, you know, these like online fucking paid Hasbaras. Some of them aren't paid. Some of them are doing it for clout, which, you know, congratulations.
Or ideology.
But, you know, I think it's a mix of all these
You
things.
believe in Nasser Lebowski.
But you see them, you know, do this totally, you know, like this bullshit. You tell me. What should Israel do? Okay, military experts. And it's just like, no one is claiming to be a military expert. We're just looking at what's happening and saying this bad. And the fact that people want to immediately turn everyone that they're talking to into the guy who, like, you can't enter this conversation without having the exact right answer for how to solve the Middle East. And it's like,
that's their big one. That's their big one. What happens after a ceasefire? And I say to them, if you've got your knee on the
Yes.
sternum of a person for 3 years, never mind 75 years, you do not get to say, well, what would happen if I got off him and obeyed the law? He might have a knife in his pocket. He might hate me.
Right.
It's like, what would happen
You
if we
just
ended
don't- that's-
slavery?
Right.
That's exactly
Or
right. You don't
thank
think
you.
whites, you don't think that exact argument
Right.
was used, and they had evidence for it. There was the Nat Turner slave revolt, or whatever.
Yes.
Now, if you're rational, you understand that the Nat Turner slave revolt and John Brown and all that is a response to the thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Right.
you know, so you end the thing and then you deal with it, and you don't get to use your insecurity.
And that's
that
not
has
just a
built up over
ceasefire.
these years
That's ending the
by
occupation.
choosing to be an occupier, which is inherently an insecure and hopeless position and a traumatizing position for you, actually.
Right.
Because you have to be estranged from your humanity. You have
Yes.
to, you know, and you're always trying to keep on something that you know is not yours. So you either double down on that, like your character is doing, or you give up the ghost and you say, you know what, we got to face the future of not knowing what's going to happen, but at least grounding it on principles that have some sanity to them.
Well, I want to show one where you kind of don't, because those are ones where you're kind of breaking character, but you have a lot of other ones where you don't break character.
Yeah, these are the ones I get in the most trouble for.
Yeah.
Okay, so now South Africa is going to try to tell Israel that they're doing crimes against humanity. Really, South Africa? Really? Didn't you guys invent apartheid? I'm just saying, given South Africa's history of human rights abuses, maybe they should sit this one out. Am I right? On a completely unrelated note, I would like to personally thank the Reichschancellor of Germany for speaking out against The Hague and against any kind of war crimes prosecutions. Germany has always been and will continue to be the best friends of the Jewish people around the world. Except for like a couple of other things. Don't worry about that other stuff.
This is a different kind. I like this. This is like the one, it's one person playing two characters.
I think Israel's going to use this tragedy as a pretext to do like another Nakba. I think we as Jews need to speak out about this, man. Can you stop talking politics for just a moment and let me grieve? Where is your humanity? Okay. Sorry. You're right. Still grieving. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, Gaza's not there anymore. It's been wiped off the map. How?
Let's do one more. This is the frustration of being asked about Gaza when you're just a comedian.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, and then we have to do the Black Alley Ship one. Okay, so two more, yeah.
Okay.
Can no longer be silent. I know that I'm just a comedian and I usually use my platform for, my little jokes, but some things are more important. And right now, I think it needs to be said that America is waging an illegal war on the Iraqi people. Hey, aren't you just a comedian? Yeah, I'm a comedian and a human being, and gay rights are human rights. Taking a wee little break from being a little clown today to tell you that kids do not belong in cages, Trump. Didn't you used to be funny? Yeah, well, some things are more important than being funny, like trans rights. Just go to my bio and you will see a link to donate to Black Lives Matter. You'll also see a ticket link for my weekend at Yuckity Yucks over in Tucson. It doesn't matter if you're a comedian or if you're a musician. Like, if you have a platform, how could you not tell people about what's going on in the Ukraine? I don't think you want to know my opinion about what's happening in Israel, Palestine. I'm just a big dumbass. I'm fucking stupid. Like, when people ask me, I'm like, you really want my opinion, Mr. fucking idiot? I'm the dumbest man in the world. And like, I don't know about politics. Like, I'm just a guy who I slip on banana peel and go, wee. You don't want to listen. People asking me, it's like, oh, okay. Well, why don't you ask Bozo the Clown? Because that's basically what you're doing when you're asking me. Because I'm so dumb. I'm the biggest stupid. I can't think good. I don't want to. Like, listen, dude,
That one was literally based on something I saw from another comedian that drove me up the fucking wall. And yeah, I've not seen that comedian in a while in person, so I wonder if he ever
That's
saw
a
it.
widespread
But,
deflection,
yeah,
though.
Was
straight
this
up.
a video the comedian did?
Yeah,
or like
it's a video he like put
Ironically,
out.
that's what Jon Stewart does a lot. Like, oh, you want to look to me to like talk about the solutions? I'm just a big dumb comedian. It's interesting who uses this to like avoid discussing things, or like when they employ the "I'm just a comedian" thing versus when they don't. It is the Jon Stewart maneuver. Yeah, absolutely. And the very selective employment. And to be completely fair, I think Jon Stewart has been okay talking about Israel. I would need to see the segment that he did on it in the Daily Show. I think he's been okay on that. So that's not really what I'm criticizing him for in this instance. But he does pull this act of like, oh, I'm just a little clown sometimes versus other times, you know? With that, I find is kind of interesting. That was what the whole rally to restore sanity was. Oh, you expect us to like do something about these problems? And people around the world, including dumb idiots like me, were actually looking to people like Jon Stewart at that time to actually, yes, use this platform to like meaningfully speak out about certain trends that were happening in like Western society. And that was the whole rally to restore sanity. Oh, you expect me to do with the comedian show? Really? Like shaming people for like expecting them to like take a moral stance on something.
And it was just like big I'm the stupidest motherfucker energy, and I'm like, I've seen you talk about other things, bro. Like, yeah, just, you know, if you don't want to say anything because you're scared or whatever, that's like,
You're gonna get rich off
like, I don't
get rich off political satire, then tap out when the moment of truth arrives. Yeah, and here he is, and he's done so. And again, he does advocacy when it comes to the troops. Oh, but no, that comedian thing gets totally dropped. We got to get serious. I'm going to use my serious voice. I'm going to go yell at people in Congress about this and soak up all the adulation from everyone. Because I respect the troops so goddamn much. That's when the whole like, oh, I'm just a little comedian thing. Oh, that doesn't apply. You know? But when it comes to like, yeah, like meaningfully challenging American foreign policy, well, that's not, you know, I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't do that. I couldn't criticize the Biden administration's Ukraine policy because Putin is bad. Whatever Jon Stewart can do to push things left, great. I think Felix is a decent guy and he's very accessible to less aware folks. I guess that's part of my problem, Hooligan Grundy, is not that sometimes he can be good at what he does. We looked at that clip earlier and I thought it was pretty good. I don't think he is pushing anything left, though. I don't think he's meaningfully doing that in any way. He's criticizing Biden for being a senile old man, which is like, yeah, that should be grounds for criticism. What's he actually doing to like promote a like left-wing system? He's really just he would, like Jon Stewart would love like a Gavin Newsom type that would come in and institute all of Biden's exact policies and just be like a coherent, young-looking guy with a nice haircut, you know? What about Joe Biden's policies really has Jon Stewart really talked about? This is the issue.
Blame anyone in the industry for
moving
being
people left
afraid
by
for their
supporting
job
NATO
or whatever,
yeah.
You know, afraid for their prospects and not wanting to rock the boat. But don't feign dumbassery. Don't, you know, just, you know, hide. Be a coward, but that's okay. Like, I'm not going to blame you for being a coward. I'm scared of shit too. You know, just not this for some stupid fucking reason.
It's a classic thing where people are really free to be virtuous and noble and brave when it takes no bravery at all.
Right.
When you're speaking out on things that
basically
basically
this
fit
effect on
the
October
liberal
7th.
consensus that the corporate world can get with, that, you know, there's just no cost at all in terms of your proximity to power and privilege. If you have a different perspective or you try to fill in the blanks. There are consequences, and that's because the U.S. security state has decided which way it's going to go, and that's just the only way it's going to go. So this is a case. I mean, Israel is the most extreme case of thou shalt not trespass beyond this place, and people know it.
Yeah, and I'm just like, listen, I know I'm literally in Hollywood. I'm in the entertainment industry. I'm not saying you won't face consequences. There are a bunch of fucking liberal, or there's a bunch of Zionist bullies
I've ruined all future career prospects talking about this shit.
I'm not saying that that's not there, but I'm also saying, like, what happened to the solidarity of earlier in the year? What happened to us against the bosses during the writer's strike or during the SAG strike? Like, you understand the concept of people power. And if you understand that, you understand that there's more of us than there are of them.
Speaking of solidarity, let's take a look at this one about the sad breakdown in Black-Jewish relations.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I have a message for Black Americans posting a Palestinian flag on social media. What the hell, man? Jews have been nothing but good to you, and this is how you repay us, by calling for a ceasefire in a seemingly unrelated country 6,000 miles away. Where is the loyalty? During the civil rights movement, my grandfather's his best friend marched for your civil rights. I posted a black square. I didn't have to. I could have posted some Eggs Benedict. I had that very day, but I didn't because I'm a good friend. I read White Fragility. I read it and I said, yeah, white people, not me, do be like that. They do. We stood side by side with you fighting white supremacy only for you to turn around and be like, ceasefire. Like, whoa. That's a pretty extreme position. Like, how do you think that makes me, a guy you didn't know was Jewish until he told you, feel? Talk to your Jewish friends. Ask them about Palestine, and we will gladly educate you to the fact that you're not educated enough to talk about it. You see, Palestine is like the Confederacy. We fought a war to defeat them and their corrosive ideology, which is why when a neo-Confederate does an act of terrorism, it is justified for us to carpet bomb their entire neighborhood. It's something we do. Don't take it from me. Take it from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who once said, and I quote, Israel is good and my favorite, and they can do whatever they want. And I feel like you're betraying that memory. I know you're speaking up because silence is violence, but you know what else silence is? Golden. Silence is golden. That golden rule. Do unto others as they did unto you. It's in the Bible. We marched with you against Jim Crow. We marched with you against police brutality, and we marched with you against mass incarceration. And all we ask in return is for you to let Israel do Jim Crow, police brutality, and mass incarceration. Fair's fair, man.
Yeah, I mean, any followers or friends over that?
No, I feel like that is one where anyone who got mad at it, who I knew who was like a liberal Zionist, who they avoided being mad in public at that one.
Right, of course.
Because that one would be admitting that they were that exact type of person. Yeah. But no, that one I still get, a little bit of, I mean, I still get comments on it, but from people who don't realize it's satire.
Right.
I've had a problem with especially on TikTok. Well, I've been kind of shadow banned on TikTok or some shit. I don't know what's happening with that, but I on Instagram I've had to like put like some text in the video that says this is satire.
Right. I used to have that with Twitter.
Yeah, it's like people are. I mean, I think it's because it sounds so close to what actual Zionists say that like most people, like if you're not catching the hint of satire, then you're missing the whole thing, and you're just like, this is just
That's
another
what happened to me.
fucking ghoul. Yeah. And I get being tricked by it, because at this point we've seen more ridiculous things come from actual people like
It's
earnestly saying this shit.
Yeah.
Seen some Palestinian liberation accounts talking shit about the Mates, saying they're Zionist normalizers. Like, I haven't really seen that, so it's hard to comment on that. I will say that, like, I've seen some, Arabs or Muslims or Palestinians talking about, and I understand this criticism, the way, like, Jewish anti-Zionists are kind of centered rather than Palestinians. And I think that's a totally legitimate critique. You know, I don't think talking about the Mates like they're Zionist normalizers. I couldn't speak to that. I know Aaron Mate has been very adamant crusader against Israel, and talking about how the evils of Zionism. So I don't know if I would go that far. I totally get the critique about, centering Jewish anti-Zionists rather than Palestinians. Like, I totally understand that perspective. I will say, though, like, I think the Jewish anti-Zionist perspective is really important. No, I think Palestinians should be centered in this kind of conversation, first and foremost. I do think that perspective is really, really valuable, though, because I think for a lot of people, the way that like Zionism and Judaism have been totally conflated, like if there weren't prominent Jewish anti-Zionists out there, you could be very easily kind of like convinced by this argument that supporting Jews means supporting Israel. If you're someone that, like, I didn't grow up around a lot of Jewish people, and if there weren't prominent anti-Zionist Jews out there, like Katie Halper, Daniel Mate, or Matt Lieb, like we were just looking at, like Eli Valley, learning from this perspective has been instrumental to me to sort of like completely understand this issue, and to understand that like being against Israel is not in any way being against Jewish people. I think it could be, if you don't have that perspective, it could be very easily to be pulled into this kind of false equivalence. I think that's really valuable, but I'll, at the same time, I do totally get that critique, and that Palestinian voices should be the people that are centered first and foremost in any of these kind of discussions. Completely get that. But I think hearing from anti-Zionist Jews has been very, very instructive and helpful for me to understand the dynamics of this situation, and to understand how bad faith these claims of anti-Semitism are coming from Zionists. That's my perspective anyway. Like I saw people like when they were talking about like the IDF or the Israeli teen or whatever that didn't want to join the IDF and went to prison, and people were like, oh, he's being centered like he's some hero, but he's an Israeli, he's a Zionist, but it's like it's a teenager, someone who was born there, and they're making a decision that's costing them. That's like they're meaningfully have skin in the game. Like they're going to prison rather than serve in this genocidal army. That's something that we should celebrate. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't celebrate the people that are at the front lines of this resistance, Palestinians. Of course, absolutely. But this idea that we can't also, in the same breath, raise up that kind of perspective and give credit when someone that's living in that situation, that's being completely indoctrinated with all these viewpoints from childhood, that's being conscripted into this genocidal army, takes this stance to not join the genocidal army, I think that's something that should be celebrated. It doesn't mean more so than Palestinians or to diminish in any way the heroism that we've seen from people in Palestine, doctors like volunteering for this suicide mission, working in these extreme conditions. It should not take away from that in any way. One of the things I've learned about being a Jewish anti-Zionist is, in addition to it being important not to center ourselves in this moment, it's also important to avoid Ashkenormativity. Swana Jews, Southeast Asia, and North Africa have super distinct ways. They're oppressed by Zionism and largely don't even like being called Mizrahi or Sephardic. Yeah, and I appreciate your perspective on that as well, Husker Du. I mean, it dismantles the entire like Zionist argument as well. The idea, it's not like white supremacist, but then you see like Ethiopian Jews, the way that they get treated when they try to immigrate to Israel, and they don't get treated the same way. And in fact, the absolute most repulsive Zionists are the people of color that do end up in that situation and become the most adamant Zionists and supporters of it. I think that's some of the most grotesque people. Anyway, it's a tricky conversation to have. I will just say from my perspective, though, it's been really valuable to have that perspective, and it doesn't mean that we need to diminish the heroism that we're seeing from Palestinians in Gaza right now, who should absolutely be centered. Their perspective and their heroism and their resistance should absolutely be centered. I think, folks, I will probably go soon. I think I'll probably go soon. Tuesdays, I just have less time to work with. So I think I should get going soon. One more time, I will remind folks, though, that if you can, to please subscribe to TRRS. Do y'all have a schedule? Yes. I stream every day, Monday through Friday, except when things come up that I can't. Like yesterday, for example, I was parenting.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Every day from 12 p.m., really 12:30. Like, let's be honest, it's 12:30. But around 12 to 4 p.m., give or take, half an hour here or there. Top Scruffy, thanks for 34 months. Tier 1, I appreciate that. Top Scruffy, 2 months away from the 3-year Pearl sub badge. Very cool. Thanks, Top Scruffy. And if anyone else can please support this program, I would appreciate it. 14 measly subs away from the goal would be fantastic to get across the finish line for the day. I know I have a little bit less time to work with, so, I temper my expectations. I think to get there, I need to be putting in probably at least 4 hours a day, which sometimes is more difficult for me. Do you do a podcast at all? Why, yes, I do, ACAB. I do a podcast called The Insurgents, which you can listen to by clicking the link there. But if you can, folks, please subscribe to this program. I also do 49th Parallel as well. That's true. Although less regularly. I haven't done an episode in a couple weeks. In fact, I need to put out that live show, and I just keep not doing it. Podcast, I thought we were locking all those guys up. Well, unfortunately not. All I was saying was is that if that did happen, if there was this process to lock up the podcasters, I would go along with it. And understanding that it would ultimately be a net good. Everyone except for Rob. I mean, that's we could do that as well. I don't know. I'll leave that to others to decide. I will leave that to others to decide, folks. We're just saying that microphone purchases should require a background check.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dr. Maggot, thank you for the gifted sub. No, it's just, I think people were confused because, I don't know. In my perspective, I just thought it was more of a short stack goblin drawing, you see. You could see how anyone would get confused. You could see how anyone would be confused by that. That's all it was. If it's a crime to download images of short stack goblin drawings, well, lock me up. Fuck. It's just a common error, Joe. Anyone could happen to anyone. it's not a crime, it should be. It should be. Yeah, I agree, actually.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Joe, thank you for the 200 bits. I'm sorry you got moderated there. First, they came for the short stack goblin enthusiast. Oh, God. Fuck. A guy walks into the piss store and says, "Is this the poop store? Buddy, look around." Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Dr. Maggot, for another gifted sub. I appreciate you a lot, Dr. Maggot. Thank you. We're 13 subs away from the goal, folks. We got Burgles in the lead this month for gifted subs. We got Kijiji Genie, number 2. We got Sunny Sola, number 3. One hero could knock one or more of these fine individuals off the leaderboards. Just saying the phrase short stack goblin should put you on a watch list. I feel uncomfortable even saying the words. I agree. It makes me feel weird and awkward just to like say the words. I just mean like at what point when you're saying those words, like earnestly, you're earnestly saying those words, just defend yourself. Like, do you not have a moment of like reflection, you know? Where have I gone wrong here? It's like, it is a record scratch moment. Yes. I might have to be extra petty right now. Normally I don't do this. Let me see if I can find the clip. I'm already losing interest. I'm already losing interest. I'm talking. Fuck, this is going to be stupid. Sorry, ruining the bit already.
Is like a threesome with 2 chicks and a guy. And in retrospect, looking at it, knowing now that that artist is a lolicon, yeah, I can see it. When I looked at it, I think the vibe that I got was like short stack, thick kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the way like goblins get drawn in porn. You'll have to entertain me for a moment on this presumed shared knowledge of how goblins get drawn in pornography. But you know.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Dude, Joe, this is my question. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. You know? Like, you've really gone off the rails when this is what you're doing. This is what you're talking about. And as you know, folks, normally I don't like to get into this personal shit. I really don't like to get into the streamer drama or the personal shit. I think this was just a situation where I was just looking at it going like, what the fuck, You know what I mean? What the fuck? Let those of us who haven't gooned to short stack goblins throw the first stone. Man. Yeah, in that case, I'm going to go ahead and pick up a stone. Anyway, folks, we got 13 more subs to go. Do we have any other takers? Do we have any other takers? I gotta get going. If you can, though, please support the show, okay? I don't quite get I don't quite have the comfortable audiences and the comfortable living that certain other professional streamers. Some of the fucking brilliant geniuses that operate in this world. I don't have quite the same levels of support. I need all the help that I can get. Stones for free. Get your stones for free. Free stones here. Man. Okay. Well, it seems like I've talking about stones. I think I've wrung everything out of this stone today that I can. So I'm going to leave now. I'm going to go away now. I think I'm rating the channel properly this time, hopefully. Thanks again for tuning in, folks. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try to do a lengthier stream tomorrow. I appreciate everyone that's tuned into this program, that supports the work that I do on here. Thank you very much.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dr. Maggot, thanks for another gifted sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Goon raid. I think that's a good raid message. Long stick. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That I'm gonna be on my deathbed and like precious memories of my children is gonna be replaced with the phrase short stack goblin. That's going to be rattling around in my head for a while now, I think. Fuck. Goodbye.